3 additional points added to their name here. Let's go ahead, take it down to the table for round number 5.
Absolutely, we gave these players plenty of introduction on their paths and what they're playing. Now let's talk about what this match is going to look like and what's at stake here. Both these players, if you had to pick players out of the total player pool in this tournament, both of these players would be very fair names to put onto a top 8 list if you were drafting players to win an event, essentially in this case. But where the decks come in, they're not conventional. We're not looking at Lugia still. Caleb Gedemer is piloting this Lost Box deck. Him and his testing group have been playing this for several events, and every time the deck has been refined, cards have been changing, things have come in, but the same thing has stayed in fact. It utilizes the Comfy Lost Zone engine, utilizing the Kyogre, and it just threatens so much in the versatility of these Lost Zone engines. Caleb and this testing group have really been able to put that on display.
Yeah, you just pick a couple of different basic energy types and find some Pokemon that help you fill out all these different awkward spots that you're going to run into. This Aurora is so beneficial when you're playing up against Lugia, and then even having the Dragonite V this time around to help in some awkward situations where you need to deal upwards of 250 damage. Even working in that shred like we saw against the Ice Cube. It's so great to see that come into play. And on the other side, Isaiah Bradner, he was playing Palkia all month trying to make it work, and then he said, you know what, I just can't beat Regigigas. I'm going to join him, I'm going to play it.
Regigigas, deck we've talked about a lot of high potential. It is prone to some poor draws. Both of these decks, they can't get set up very early. It can be a tough game, so that's definitely what we're going to be keeping our eye out on. Early opening coin flip is also important. This is a matchup that, if you ask different people at different levels of play, regardless of where you're at, they're going to say this matchup is differently. Some people say it's potentially favored for Lost Box. They can set up multiple prize turns with things like the Kyogre. Even the Radiant Greninja can take multiple prizes after Sableye spreads damage. And some would say Regigigas can just consistently take prizes every turn on every Pokemon, and things can get tough. The prize cards, very rough here for Caleb. Prizing that Radiant Greninja, it's a big card here early, and having Reggie Pokemon prized over on Isaiah's side means it might be a little bit more difficult to get going.
Yeah, you need to find those Reggies early and often, and at least beneficial for Caleb. He does have that one Hisuian Heavy Ball, so maybe could find that at the right time, but of course that Radiant Greninja, so beneficial early on and later as an attacker too. You can get that Moonlight Shuriken going.
Big cards, of course, Hisuian Heavy Ball is great when you have it in hand to be able to pitch these Pokemon out, but none of these players have ways to search the card out specifically as we're getting into it. Here we go, Swiss round number 5 between Caleb Gedemer and Isaiah Bradner. It looks like Isaiah will kick things off. Does have Speed Lightning Energy, so can draw 2 cards from top of the deck, seeing what is found. Excellent 2 cards there, has access to Trekking Shoes to go through the deck. Really looking to utilize this to discard some of the special energy, but Ordinary Rod is not a card you want to get rid of, and drawing into another one after discarding it.
Yeah, that's not the card that you want to find there, and of course, having Speed Lightning Energy is nice. Generally on these turns, you're looking to just see as many Reggies as you can. So if you can find those capture energies, use quick balls, anything like that to get going. But no, just going to hold on to some resources here and pass the turnover.
So Caleb is not playing a card like Galarian Zigzagoon. If that was in the deck, then the turn 1 knockout is very possible. So this is a risk here from Isaiah, going ahead and not benching that. But over on Caleb's side, his hand is not looking too great, really relying off this flower selecting, but a big draw there finds Battle VIP Pass. Does have to put Sableye away in the Lost Zone, but it's more than worth it when you're getting these basic Pokemon out of your deck.
Yeah, that's a sacrifice that you're willing to make at this stage. The Battle VIP Pass, so important here. Of course, we saw plenty of energies, so the first card you're looking for is Radiant Greninja. Uh-oh, not going to be available.
Yeah, not available, and Path of the Peak is in play right now, so we'll not be able to utilize that ability to draw cards, and immediately we see that Dragonite V. Now, Dragonite's one of the Pokemon that I'm a big fan of here. So seeing it finally get some action. When it was released, it never really saw any play. Did a lot of damage, 250 for 3 energy. The attack cost is a little awkward, but more so as soon as that card came out, you look at the other cards in the format, a lot of things can deal 230 damage to take a knockout on Dragonite. Maybe now, when it's being utilized to just evenly trade as it keeps pace, it's found its home here in this Lost Zone deck.
Yeah, I think this is certainly an opportunity where this card could shine. It's just having the potential to deal big damage and take knockouts when your opponent's not expecting to see them. That's exactly what this card's all about here.
And another thing about Dragonite V as well, does not have weakness ever since Dragon Pokemon were reintroduced during the Sword and Shield Evolving Skies expansion. They do not have any weakness, and Reggie's a deck that really relies on hitting these Pokemon for weakness, and that's a big key piece to look at. But I mean, even with Battle VIP Pass, your start gets so powerful, but there's not much else going on for Caleb. Has to utilize the search early on off the capture energy to find Manaphy.
Yeah, Manaphy's going to be a great card when you're staring up against that Regieleki. You don't want to have that additional damage coming down, and it's nice to just avoid having that at any of the stages. And of course, Caleb looked at his hand as well, says, well, I've already got the Oranguru. If I need to play that later on, I don't need to worry about the Radiant Greninja. That's not going to be an option here, so might as well just go ahead and grab this card.
Looks like another Battle VIP pass in the hand. That's a great draw there off the second flower selecting, but I think the question is, what card do you get rid of? And that's a powerful card. Yeah, Ordinary Rod. Caleb understanding that the other Ordinary Rod is in the prize cards. Can't really, I mean, at this point, if you're Kyle, do you really let your startup and your setup go to waste, not be as powerful if it means getting rid of this Ordinary Rod?
Yeah, I don't even know if the Battle VIP Pass is helpful at this stage anymore. Like maybe you're looking to find the Cramorant eventually and get that down, but you need more help here, and it's gonna have to be Comfey's chained together, and with this hand right now, you're not gonna find it.
Yeah, even putting Choice Belt onto the Comfey, saying this card will do me no good in this matchup. Isaiah Bradner has a pretty big hill ahead. Number one, you need to assemble all of your Regi Pokemon, get the gang together, and number two, you need to find a way to discard some of these energy. Quick Ball is a great start. Isaiah will take this opportunity to look through, see what Regi Pokemon are here, and the smart thing too, most likely be grabbing the one that there are the least amount of copies of in the deck that aren't beneficial. So the only Pokemon on the board that are beneficial in this case are things like the Regieleki. We saw that first turn the speed lightning energy to draw cards, and also the Regidrago to fill the hand up.
Yep, and of course the Regigigas is going to be the big card here, for getting to use all of those energies once you have all of those Pokemon down. But just make sure that you get the Pokemon that you have the least of out on the field, so eventually when you do use a card like that Professor's Research that we saw on hand, or if there is another supporter, maybe use your all into those cards without having to use resources like the Quick Ball or the Capture.
So this is the choice here for Isaiah. What do you grab in this position? What do you feel is the most important? Of course, Regigigas is powerful, but that's only when you have all of your Regi Pokemon in play. As the Capture energy will go down into this Regieleki, this will grab yet another Regi Pokemon. And again, grabbing Registeel, you've only got 2 copies of it in the deck. When it comes to Pokemon here, the only one that says a 3 of, we've seen this sort of fluctuate in between. We saw Regigigas become a 3 of when Mew was playing Lost City, but now that count is down, Isaiah Bradner is only playing 3 copies of the Regieleki. So just grabbing these 2 of Pokemon, it's really indifferent which one you grab, but in my opinion, when I'm playing this deck, I just grab the one that's my favorite, right? So for me, I'm a big Regirock fan, so I always try to get that guy out right away, but listen, it's preference to preference, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, usually if you've prized one, then you only have one in the deck, and then you go and grab that one, and you see Caleb's eyes light up, like, okay, at least if there's like not too many prize cards taken, I'm going to target the Registeel if I think that I need to shut down the engine completely. So maybe look to see Caleb try that eventually if we get in an awkward situation.
And the Cape of Toughness in that opening hand, I think Isaiah would have liked to play that down later on in the game. But putting on a Regidrago, it's a good play, but again, this is a Pokemon that you're going to be wanting to pivot out of the active spot a lot. But here we go. What is the cards draw? Needs to find 3 Regi Pokemon. The Aurora Energy is already in the discard pile. I see the Regice in hand, but I don't think there's any other way. No, just has multiple copies of that and a lot of energy. And that's it, just has to hit for 20 damage. And this is a big break for Caleb. Has nothing going on in his hand. Still not out of the woods yet, needs to find some cards. The top deck was placed there last turn with the Oranguru's Primate Wisdom ability. And here we go, what 2 cards? Does find a, looks like a switch card. Can move this out of the active and get 1 more flower selecting. But man, struggling to find Colress's Experiment, and you see this deck cannot draw and be as aggressive and get these attackers powered up if it cannot find Colress. This is a big 2 more cards. What do we see? Nothing that's going to help, just a Mirage Gate. Sure, you're up to 4 cards. Cramorant can attack, but there's no Cramorant to be found.
And we just see energy cards being tossed away as well into the Lost Zone. It means those resources won't be available later on, but we're not looking at later on. We need to keep going so that there's at least a few more turns in this game.
Does find Pokestop off of the Primate Wisdom. The problem is, you know, one of those 3 cards you're discarding is going to be another energy card. You've already put 2 in the Lost Zone, but what cards can you find? I mean, you've got 2 cards in your deck to find. Something like a combination of something like Scoop Up Net and a Quick Ball could get there. That's very potential, and you have to risk it at this point when you're not finding it. Escape Rope and Bird Keeper can get the Escape Rope, but there's no more Comfey to go into this turn.
Yep.
So no more Flower Selectings and no more ability to dig through the deck.
Yeah, this is, we've seen Isaiah basically have the Regi hand that we always talk about. It just never got together. Is this the Lost Zone hand? What is this? Because this is not working at all.
And this is so unfortunate as well at this point, because usually with this deck, Regieleki or these Regi Pokemon, you have to power them up manually. or not manually through the ability, but that's exactly what Isaiah has done here. Manual attached every single turn, and because the Aurora Energy is in hand, we can see a guaranteed Terra Spark. Even though Manaphy's in play, you at least can take the knockout onto the Comfy, and that will be the exact choice from Isaiah, getting rid of some more energies. And the Professor's research, getting rid of a beautiful hand of cards, another Aurora Energy. That's now 3 Aurora in play, which means any attacker can be utilized for the rest of the game.
Yeah, interesting. I think there was a Capture Energy in the hand, so instead of risking it to get 1 more Reggie off of 7 cards, he just said, I'm going to guarantee the Terra Spark at least. I can't miss a knockout on this turn.
And yet again, these Regi Pokemon are not to be found. There's a Registeel in the hand, but that was already grabbed. It's one of those games where you're playing the statistics game sort of on which one are you not going to draw into, but you never know what those other Regi Pokemon are going to be, and no other way to find basics will be the Terra Spark knockout, forced to discard the Aurora Energy and the Speed Lightning. But to note, the Capture Energy is still on the Regieleki, so if for some reason that wants to pivot out of the active spot next turn, a single attachment means that they can retreat, and then the Ancient Wisdom can do this. And finally, finding the Culver's Experiment looks like off the top of the deck. And this is big. Finally gonna be able to start getting going. But look at that, just Mirage Gate, no way to find Pokemon. Oh, looks like, oh, no, yeah, I was saying, what is that? It looks like there's a Quick Ball potentially in those 5 cards. I can't tell. Yeah, but no, deciding to Lost Zone it instead, really prioritizing how strong Mirage Gate are in this position. Has the 2 Mirage Gate, can utilize this Flower Selecting to get that last card into the Lost Zone. And I'll put him at 7, and at this point, Caleb can start attacking, but Isaiah's already taken the prize lead. You've got a 2 prize Pokemon in play. What needs to happen here in Caleb's side to swing this matchup back into his favor?
I mean, you have to start to take prize cards, obviously, so you think that maybe the Dragonite V just starts getting aggressive and tries to do something, but you need to see a little more from this hand right now. It's just when you're holding on to all these energy cards, you start to wonder, do you even have access to energies off of the Mirage Gates in the future? Because you're going to play this one, and I think Dragonite should be okay, but afterwards, what Pokemon do you have energies for?
That's the issue. What do you do with this Dragonite? Now, it is interesting to note that Dragon Gale does damage your bench, but with Manaphy in play, that is no longer an issue. You can just utilize that attack, deal enough damage. As there is the first Mirage Gate going down. Nice thing about Dragonite, these Dragon Pokemon do have some annoying attack cost, but you are playing more Water Energy in your deck, so utilizing that can be a pretty okay attack. The fact, though, that the Lightning Energy was attached down already from hand means that it will take 2 Mirage Gate to get this powered up, as we do see smart choice from Caleb, putting it on the Psychic Energy on the Comfy. It doesn't attack, but why is that energy being put there on the active?
Yeah, you need to retreat, and having that option there is going to be helpful, and we saw that there already was the Water Energy in hand for the Dragonite, so not even having to use the second Mirage Gate now. Just going to go ahead, get this Dragonite into the active spot, start working on knockouts here, and as trivial as it feels to just knock out a Regieleki that already used all of its energies, it's nice to remove this Pokemon, because you've seen that Isaiah just has not found Regis.
Oh, so Manaphy only prevents damage done to the bench by your opponent's Pokemon. So an interaction we don't see, not a lot of attacks as of recent in the Pokemon trading card game damage your own bench Pokemon, but that is the attack on Dragonite V, dealing enough damage to knock out this Regieleki. And actions on Isaiah at this point. Needs to get these Regi Pokemon to play. At this point, by turn 3, you should already be able to utilize the Ancient Wisdom ability, but nothing has been yet to find. Quick Ball will find another Pokemon, but there's still a good amount of work that needs to be done. But the deck has been thinned out at this point. A lot of cards. Yeah. You see, there's so many Regi Pokemon still left in this deck.
Right. I'm just looking at them. I see piles of Pokemon along with Ultra Balls and all these other searching effects. It's just, how has this not happened yet at this point? Plenty of energies available by way of the discard pile. Just has to get the Regis down.
It's the question. All the energies are there. The Regi Pokemon are the last piece to be achieved. I think just considering where to put this energy card, Regice will be the attacker of choice. So as we noted before, this deck does not have a way to take a one-hit knockout onto Dragonite. However, the best way to approach the 2-hit knockout chain is to utilize something like the Regice and utilize that Blizzard Bind attack, deal 100 damage to this active Dragonite, and prevent the attack. We'll have to deal with that when we get there. But the first thing is, do we see 2 Regi Pokemon? I feel like if you have it here for Isaiah, you just slam it down right away. There's a Quick Ball in hand. Energy Lotto, Ordinary Rod, no, still cannot find these last 2 Regi Pokemon, which will leave this Regice in the active and allow Caleb to take even more prize cards without putting aggression. Just has to utilize Regigate, dealing 0 damage. What a big break here for Caleb.
Yeah, just continuing to struggle, and I guess the one benefit here is maybe Caleb just continues to attack with his Dragonite V. You might get some knockouts if he uses it 4 times.
That would be the most interesting way I think I've seen Manaphy get knocked out is just by your own Pokemon. But we've seen a lot of things today. We saw Garbodor attack earlier, so wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've seen on stream, at least at this event. But finally finding the Cramorant does also have the attachment. And like you said, we don't see energies go on to Comfey a lot, but with the fact that you're constantly pivoting in and out, you're trying to find cards, it also gives you protection against things like Marnie. It's an important piece to note, and Caleb wasn't expecting to have this bonus turn, so to say, so he's more than happy to not play some of these extra cards that are needed. Just take the knockout. Sure, you put some more damage in your board, but now you're going down to 4 prize cards. Isaiah has yet to take more than a single prize card at the beginning of the game. Now Isaiah feels like has to put in a little bit more work to maybe catch up to where Caleb is at.
Yeah, and I think Isaiah definitely showed us that when we saw that Aurora energy come down onto the Regieleki. Just understands taking prize cards in this matchup is so important. You need to be in the prize exchange, and just hasn't been able to do that just yet. Now we're going to see the Ordinary Rod to try to help out here. When you're down 2 Regice, you got to get those back into the deck.
Absolutely. The rest of the hand not looking too powerful. It does actually have the Serena and utilizing the Quick Ball first. So this will find one of the Regi Pokemon in play. Of course, the Regirock will be the grab. Looks like there was actually one hanging out in the, or no, none of them were in the prize cards, but finally grabbing the Regirock out of the deck. And Isaiah's game plan is very clear at this point. Trying to just attack with some Pokemon to deal damage to this Dragonite and set up the math for this to be possible. Utilizing the Energy Lotto, if this does find an energy, it can be thinned out of the hand with the Serena, but not finding anything, not the biggest deal here for Isaiah.
Yep, no harm, no foul here. Just eventually going to have the Serena there to draw back up to 5. Try to find one of those 2 copies of the Regice there.
Ooh,
even has the research. That's much better. Go ahead and find yourself 7 cards, young man, and maybe find that Regice, get something going this turn.
At this point, right, the Regice has to be here. Surely you find it, and there's the Ultra Ball. So Isaiah finally being able to find the search out. It's crazy to think that it took this long, though, to get set up. We're in turn 5 of the game now at this point, and not much has happened. Both players having shaky starts, but Isaiah really unable to pull out. Caleb, it looked like, had nothing going on that turn, but that Colress experiment really saved him in that position.
Yeah, we do see Regigigas in the active spot in this stage. I guess you can get a little bit of damage there, but hopefully that's not the attacking Pokemon. Maybe there's a little more in the hand.
Yep, so had to be promoted at the start of the turn. There was no Reg Ice to start, but luckily did find the Scoop Up Net off of the research. And here we go. Reg Ice is in the active spot. This is a big turn for Isaiah. This could be an extra turn stolen away from this Blizzard bind, but again, Caleb plays so many of these switching cards. Obviously can't utilize the Scoop Up Net on the Dragonite V, but things like Switch Cart and Escape Rope still work on the Dragonite, and here we go. This might be the pivotal turn in this game. Also, because the Regigigas was Scoop Up Netted, can utilize Ancient Wisdom twice, allowing him to put even more energy into play as the Blizzard bind comes out. What is the hand? Wow, this hand is pretty terrible. There's no way to switch this Dragonite out of the active. It has a hefty 3 retreat cost. You can retreat it, but what do you do from there? Reaching towards the energy, I think that's the only option Caleb has in this position. Already has lost zoned a few energies, looks like has discarded some, and wow, that is a big time, not even a miss, but Caleb really needed that card here to continue attacking and keep the energy efficiency and the attack efficiency up in this game.
I guess if there was a turn where you do this, it's now because you do have the energy recycler in hand, so you can at least get these energies back into the deck, and you have the Mirage Gates available, but oh, this does not feel pleasant when you have to lose potentially now 4 energies because there's going to be a Scoop Up Net onto the Comfey as well.
I would have been happy to have that Comfey there, but did draw into the Kyogre. I keep thinking it's amazing because it does an amazing job of closing games out. Yeah, I'd say it's amazing, right? But needs to utilize that because that is a card we haven't talked about in this matchup. But really explain what Kyogre is in this deck, what purpose it really serves in this Lost Zone.
Yeah, this Kyogre from Celebrations is so impactful as you're able to just thin your deck down as low as possible and then get to a point where you can just get all these energies onto the Kyogre as well as start removing these energies off the top of your deck. If you can remove 2 of these Regis from play, then you're obviously going to have the prize exchange go right back into your favor.
So not a lost turn from Caleb. Can still deal some damage with this Spit Innocently attack on the Cramorant, but it really just wants to get more usage out of this Dragonite, because now, if you want to utilize it again, you've got to power it all up just for it to get knocked out the next turn. So Caleb is creeping towards that 10 cards in the Lost Zone, exactly what you need to utilize or fulfill the Lost Mine attack. But it seems at this point that Dragonite's kind of done its job. Caleb is just going to hope at this point that it doesn't get gusted up on the bench. This Cramorant's going to be able to deal some damage, and sort of we're back into this mid-game. Caleb still is not out of this game, still in a very good spot. Up a prize over Isaiah. Isaiah does still have to find a way to knock this out. Does already have the Regice lined up, but this will really be interesting to see how Isaiah approaches the situation, because the Regice is damaged. The Regigigas on the bench only needs a single attachment to attack. What choice do you make here when going into these next couple of turns?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see what your opponent's going for at this stage. If you can get a couple of these Cramorant shots down, then eventually you just clean up these Pokemon with the Sableye. Maybe you can use Lost Mine eventually and just spread at least 2 damage counters on most of these Pokemon that have 130 hit points, and get yourself in a spot where you can clean up multiple Pokemon in a turn, or at least continue to take prize cards. So Isaiah now going to bring up this Regidrago here, at least have the knockout lined up, and if eventually you can make use of those scoop-up nets, as we didn't really see them in the opening turns, that's going to be a great way to just avoid any of these knockouts happening.
Game of Toughness, a very solid card in this spot, makes Regidrago a 180 HP basic 1 prize Pokemon. That is so powerful in its mind, especially in this 1 prize matchup, where it's going to be taking 2 turns to be knocked out. It's always able to swing Giant Fangs. 160 damage, no effects, means it can just be utilized next turn. No increased or decreased damage. And actions now on Caleb, looks like did find a Colress's Experiment, and that is a big card to have this turn, because it means this will push him into the 10-card Lost Zone count. Sableye will now be able to attack, but from what I saw here, this hand was suffering pretty strongly. I don't even think has the Psychic Energy to attack with the Sableye, and that must be what he is looking for at this point. The thing that sucks is Dragonite can take the knockout onto this Regidrago, but that just sets it up to be knocked out in return.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. As we saw the Dragonite V, it came up early, and of course it was able to take just that 100 damage, not a big deal, and then you obviously you retreat and then you just hide there. There are no gusting effects on the other side from Isaiah's deck, so you're not worried about that one boss's orders coming up and removing this 2-prize Pokemon. Instead, it's done its job, it's going to sit on the bench, and that just means that you basically stole 1 or 2 free prize cards at that stage, and you just need to let the rest of these Pokemon do their job.
So Caleb can still get this Lost Mine attack out, does have the Energy Recycler shuffling back 5 energy cards into the discard pile, does have the amazing rare Kyogre in combination with the the Mirage Gate. But it looks like this will be the choice. So smart choice from Caleb here. Usually you want to bench Kyogre towards the end of the game, but wants to get value off of this Mirage Gate. Doesn't feel like it's worth putting the energy onto Comfey. There's still plenty of scoop up net in the discard, or rather in the deck. And you don't need to put more cards in your Lost Zone, because once you have 10, all Comfey is just a thinning tool that draws you some cards.
Oh, you didn't want to let Manaphy get in this game and do a little bit of work?
Looks like not. The Kyogre will get the energy. And at this point, Caleb has very good deck knowledge as well of Regigigas, understands that a lot of these Regigigas decks are not playing boss's orders, so there's no way to target this Kyogre. So it's kind of safe to just chill on the bench for a little bit, slowly get powered up. And this will be an interesting choice from Caleb. Where do you put the damage? I'm sure the Regice will be knocked out for sure. This is going to be the choice. So essentially, it can put 2 damage counters onto the Regice, and then has the option to put 10 more damage counters wherever you want, so 100 damage anywhere. And Sableye here, this is a crash course on why Sableye is so strong. We saw this effect on a card back all the way in Lost Thunder in the Baby Blacephalon that was able to spread damage counters, but only when your opponent was at 3 prize cards. You could use this attack multiple times. You can get this attack off turn 2 if you find the right cards.
Yeah, no, this deck is crazy because of this Sableye card. I think that Caleb wants to put the Regidrago at a point where at least it could be knocked out from a Cramorant. Then you just remove this Regice from play, and yeah, we're going to work on the Regigigas here. It's a little bit awkward because at least you're going to go down to 3 prize cards. You're not exactly lined up for the Kyogre, but eventually if the Sableye's knocked out, you bring up the Cramorant, and then you try to clean the game up with that Kyogre.
So the Regigigas on Caleb's side really wanted that to have 1 more damage counter, because that means Spit Innocently is doing enough damage to take the knockout. But really prioritizing, again, like you said, 7 damage counters on the Regidrago means that 110 more damage will put it to exactly 180. So we see energies going on to this Regieleki. Now Manaphy is in play, and the attack can only target the benched Pokemon, but it can still draw you some cards. At this point, Isaiah's energy economy is fantastic. Essentially is up an extra essentially up an extra Ancient Wisdom at this point. However, there is no extra Pokemon, or rather no Regice in play to be able to take this knockout, or rather utilize the ability again. However, at this point, it's just extra energy to put in play because this Regigigas is already ready to attack.
Yeah, we'll see what the plan is here. I do like the fact that Isaiah is going to continue to use Pokemon that don't get knocked out from Cramorant, and we see right now going to value that once more, scoop up net onto the Regidrago, and we could see that Pokemon also the beneficiary of some of these energies.
And Cape of Toughness was such a good card there because it essentially, the 7 damage counters was equivalent to putting 2 on there with Lost Mine, and this is just more damage that Caleb committed, and maybe Isaiah understands that there's no Zigzagoon in this deck, which means that the Regigigas is going to need another Lost Mine or 2 attacks to be able to take this out.
Yep, and if your opponent wants to continue to use Sableye, that's going to be difficult because you've already seen one in the Lost Zone very early on. The Psychic Energies are also tricky to find at the right time at this point. It's going to have to be that Ordinary Rod, and we know the Ordinary Rod might have been looking for some other Pokemon too.
Nice top deck there, finds the Colress's Experiment right off the top. I believe that was actually maybe put on top with the Primate Wisdom, but nevertheless, a good card to see right away, and just such tough finds off of it. And this is what happens when you get through your deck later on with Colress's Experiment. I mean, the Scoop Up Net and the Escape Rope, you want those to be able to dig through your deck, maybe utilize Escape Rope to put some more Pokemon into the active spot. You've already lost zoned at minimum 2 energies we saw early on in the game. And that might be the choice here for Caleb, having to get rid of one of these Cramorants, which are an attack that essentially does the same as Sableye, except Sableye you can have a little bit more control, but still doesn't require the energy, doesn't require you to power it up. It's one of these things here that Caleb is going to have to figure out how are these last prize cards taken, or how is this last prize card taken? Because it looks pretty clear here, right? Kyogre is going to be on board, and it just comes down to can you take one more prize card this turn? So this is the question. I think Caleb has already burned a few Mirage Gate. If this Dragonite can attack now, maybe that's the key to get him to 2 prize cards. But then again, you need the ability to power the Kyogre up too, right? So how do you do it?
And then you need to have the energies to discard with the Kyogre off of your deck. So it's so tricky to be able to manipulate and have every energy at the right time here. And we can see Caleb really struggling to try to figure out how to piece this together.
So the Oranguru will come into the active spot. There are a few more Scoop Up Nets in hand, so Caleb does have the option. Just utilize another Flower Selecting ability. Now, usually you utilize Scoop Up Net and go into another Comfey, but that isn't possible for Caleb. So essentially, Caleb is seeing 1 less. Every Scoop Up Net that's being played is seeing 1 less Flower Selecting than it should be seen. Does find the Ordinary Rod, but you know as soon as they look at the loss of the other card that they want, or the card that's there they can't get rid of, and the card that's also there is the card they want, and they have to now decide what card do you go for. You have to loss on another energy card in favor of the Ordinary Rod. It makes sense, right? You have to do it at this point, but it's still tough when you need these resources to close this game out.
Yeah, it's the problem when you play a bunch of good cards in your deck. Eventually, you're going to see 2 of them and be very sad.
Can't always Lost Zone Battle VIP pass. I love that feeling. It's great to do, but it just isn't the case every time.
We did see at least that happen with the Choice Belt this turn, so not all the decisions have been impossible here for Caleb, but certainly this is a lot of mental gymnastics trying to get through this turn.
So Sableye will come back. That will be able to take the knockout on Regigigas, and I think that's what Caleb has to go for at this point. Needs to find a way to knock out this Regigigas, and then the path is clear. Kyogre can take these last 2 prize cards with the Aqua Storm attack, and that will be it. However, already down a single energy recycler, still has the Ordinary Rods, now has played 1 of those, and still needs to find the Sableye, find the way to power Kyogre up next turn, and also hope that Isaiah has no counterplay to that at all.
Yep, and at least the Sableye would be able to get this game a little closer. There is a bit of a window here because Isaiah did miss the prize card in one of those earlier turns. So just the fact that Isaiah isn't already up a prize means there's a little bit of space. But look at this.
That's big. No, had 1 more card, utilized the Scoop Up Net on the Oranguru to utilize Primate Wisdom, but could not find the Sableye that was put back into the deck with the Ordinary Rod. And now what do you do if you're Caleb? You do, as you said, have that 1-turn buffer of an extra Pokemon to put up, but what do you want to promote? Is it the Manaphy? Do you put the Manaphy in the active? Do you take the turn to power up your Kyogre manually? I think this play is smart here. This way you just play around having to find the Mirage Gate necessarily and taking those energies back into the deck, but again, you're going to lose something this turn, so it's kind of a pick your poison, right, well, I'm going to lose something, right? What
you
do I
can't
do?
lose any of these other Pokemon. It has to be the Oranguru. If you lose the Manaphy, then maybe the Regieleki starts to do some additional damage and do a lot of work. You obviously can't lose the Kyogre because it's so important, and 2 prize cards in the Dragonite is too important as well.
So Caleb is getting the benefit of the doubt, or rather the luck there of Isaiah missing that extra turn. If Isaiah was at 2 prizes at this point, the game would essentially be over. Isaiah goes down to 1 prize card, and then anything that's on the board just gets knocked out next turn. But Caleb has a chance, is pretty much at this point banking off the fact that Isaiah Bradner has no way to bring up this Dragonite on the bench with something like the Serena, and that is it. And Caleb and Isaiah understands this is the extra turn. Nothing is going to change no matter how much he digs to the deck. Taking the knockout onto Oranguru, going to 2 prize cards. What can Caleb do? The win condition is very clear for Isaiah. Dragonite has 100 damage on it, just needs any attack except essentially a good majority of these attacks. Actually, there's a few that don't get there, right? But just needs to take an attack in from several of these Pokemon to be knocked out. Caleb has to put together some sort of strategy. We do see the Colress's experiment, it looks like here, the 5 cards, and it's just so brutal. 4 energy into the ordinary rod. Wow.
Yep. I mean, Caleb put a bunch of cards in there that help. There's another Comfey in here. There's another, the Sableye, of course, finds the Comfey, but also finds the switching effect.
These are just brutal. Absolutely brutal cards off of the flower selecting. Not only do they not progress Caleb's board state, but they also don't. They also get rid of these resources that are needed for late turns like this. So what do you do here if you're Caleb? Do you utilize Aqua Storm now? The problem with Aqua Storm that I don't think we mentioned is when you utilize Aqua Storm, usually you put yourself to 0 cards in deck. Yeah. And Kyle, what is a lose condition in the Pokemon trading card game?
When your opponent just passes the turn? Yeah, that'd be pretty bad. So obviously not going to go there just yet. Would love to see the Sableye be able to remove the Regigigas, but maybe there's a play where you ordinary rod some Pokemon into the deck and just go for it. I don't know what you do at this stage if you can't find Sableye.
And this is tough, too, because we're already 30 minutes into this round. This is a long matchup. This is as we've seen, this is a long game 1, but it looks like we are going to just see this.
All right.
Draco's coming to the active spot.
Don't remove Sableye.
So this is what it comes down to. Well, yeah, here we go. So this is essentially the play that Caleb is going to go for. Is I'm going to go essentially Aqua Storm. I'm going to discard 5 of the 6 cards in my deck. I have the Psychic Energy in my hand, and I'm going to hope that out of these 5 cards I discard, one of them is not Sable. And you're actually just going to see Caleb say, you know what, it doesn't make sense. It's not going to work that way. Caleb going to scoop things up. We're going to game 2, but at the cost of a long, long game 1, there may not be a way for Caleb to win this series.
Yeah, I wonder if Isaiah just said, like, hey, I have Serena. Let's just move on. It would have been cool, but yeah, you don't need to do that. And of course, you can't ever give the stream a Kyogre or Aqua Storm. We've been waiting for so long now, and it just never happens, even when he's about to announce the attack.
Everyone says the card is so good, but we've never seen it be good. So it can't be.
It can't be good?
It can't. If we don't see it, that's it. Yeah, if we don't see it, it's not good. But we're going into game 2. Isaiah's got to be feeling confident. As long as that game went at the same pace, Isaiah is more than confident and comfortable in this situation. But we saw the route was there for Caleb. Had the very strong play eventually after finding the Colress. Almost was able to capitalize on Isaiah missing the early turns. And I think that's just a testament in this first match on how important it is that your deck functions on these opening turns. Because right now, at least in this standard, missing a turn, not finding what you need one turn, can make or break a series and can make or break a game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Caleb goes for a similar strategy with the Dragonite this time around, or if that was just because that's all that his deck was willing to give him at that stage, because it didn't work too well. He, of course, was able to get some prize cards, but just had this opportunity where if his opponent finds Serena, it was going to get awkward and continue to have to just lose a bunch of resources. We saw a ton of energies down early on, and let's see what goes on this time as we see at least the Ordinary Rod, Cram, and Kyogre in the prize cards.
Hisuian Heavy Ball as well, but luckily it is at the bottom of the prize cards, so it can be taken pretty quickly as Caleb going to start things out with a flower selecting. Does have multiple Comfey, but really looking for that Battle VIP pass, of course. We've said it time and time again, Screw Up Net is the card that really allows his engine to succeed and flourish, allowing you to pick up these Pokemon and utilize them over and over again. Japan is rotating soon, and of course I've been involved and invested with that. It is a card that this deck is definitely going to miss, but actually opting to get rid of Battle VIP Pass off of the flower selecting must have been a powerful card if it was worth not selecting that on the first turn of the game.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I see it's just going to keep holding on to his head there as it goes, if you're going to get rid of that, the rest of that hand has to be good.
Just did find Cramorant, does have another Comfey as well, has not committed an energy yet for the turn. And these are the choices that Caleb has to make. This first turn is very crucial in getting set up, getting yourself to a position with your board where you can just consistently find Colress's Experiment, consistently draw lots of cards. You're going to see some more flower selecting at this point. What are the two cards? Again, more energy cards that are just forced to be lost zoned away for no benefit.
At least holding on to the Psychic, going to lose the capture energy, but this isn't exactly the turn you expect to see when you throw away a Battle VIP. Nothing really happened. At least some cards got into the lost zone. Maybe that means that we'll be closer to that Mirage Gate.
It might have been that Mirage Gate that was the other card. I didn't quite catch it there off of that, but Caleb understood after that last game how important it was to have cards like Mirage Gate, Ordinary Rod, and Energy Recycler, and it wasn't crucial here. Caleb can still do plenty of options in the following turn, but Isaiah Bradner, listen, this deck can potentially take these one-hit knockouts, and this is something that you've got to think about. It is the worst feeling when you're playing up against Regigigas and you're like, yeah, look, I'm great. I'm all set for my second turn, and then your opponent goes, yeah, I'm going to play every Reggie Pokemon down. I'm going to research way through Aurora Energy, and I'm going to knock out your active Pokemon. So, and that could definitely swing things. It is the potential of this deck to sort of pop off on its first turn, but Isaiah is going to take the opportunity to look through on this first deck search, find a Pokemon that's there. And it actually looks like it's just going to be the attachment and the Regigate. Yeah. So that's it. But luckily did attach the Gift Energy, which is a card this deck recently received that just increases its consistency. Yeah,
I was going to mention that as it's kind of a greedy card. You see that there's only 2 capture energies on the list and 2 gift energies. So obviously, at least having the 1 gift energy means that you can continue to put that on the Pokemon that is attacking and probably would be knocked out from your opponent. And instead, finds it early on here and doesn't have options like a capture energy would to get additional Regis into play.
Birdkeeper, the supporter of choice on Caleb's side, does still have access to a flower selecting to find some more of these cards. Has plenty of Pokemon, does put the Radiant Greninja in the Lost Zone. And like you were saying, was he going to use the Dragonite or not? It was the choice over the Greninja off that flower selecting.
Yeah, so obviously it's a crucial piece to the early setup here, just being able to attack with this Pokemon, put pressure on Isaiah, and it's going to lose a big resource there in the Radiant Greninja. Early on in the matchup, this card used to be very beneficial. You would just place 4 damage on a bunch of Regis and eventually clean up with the Moonlight Shurikens. Instead, just says, I'm just going to go through a bunch of these Regis and eventually work in that Kyogre.
So Caleb grabbing the other Comfey, and this signals to me that is really pushing to get to these 7 cards in the Lost Zone to be able to utilize the Mirage Gate. We see that already in hand, and we also see Scoop Up Net in combination with the Escape Rope, and this is actually going to be a great combination of cards here. There it is, the last flower selecting needed. Can go ahead and get rid of a card.
All right.
It's not horrible, so at least half of those are there, and here we are. We're in Mirage Gate City at this point. Have the Dragonite in hand that was grabbed, does have the Escape Rope too, and Escape Rope is great in this position because it plays around the Gift Energy.
Yeah, you don't have to give your opponent those extra cards. I'm not even sure what Isaiah is holding on to or how many cards are in there, but he certainly has made it look like they are pretty awful.
Absolutely. Not too strong at all. No supporter card was going second, so that would have been played right away. Benching the Comfey again, opting to just utilize the Escape Rope before to go ahead and put this Comfey in the active. And Isaiah has to make a tough decision here. What do you promote? Do you think your opponent has the ability to knock this Pokemon out, or do you put up Regidrago? And a smart choice there from Isaiah to bring up the Regidrago, because if that was also knocked out this turn, not only do you not get cards from the Gift Energy, but now you have no ability to utilize Dragon's Horde on the following turn.
Yeah, just going to lose the Regieleki, it looks like. Understanding that when your opponent's Lost Zone gets this big, clearly there are going to be some plays lined up, and it looks like Caleb is going to be just okay with getting a bunch of damage down onto his Pokemon if he does go for that Dragonite route here.
So I think the Dragonite route is definitely possible. It does still have things like Pokestop to be utilized as a stadium card. Also has Manaphy, so that will protect the bench against potential Terra Spark damage. You also can't really let these Comfey get Terra Sparked right now, because that means they could actually a lot more easily be knocked out by your own Dragonite. But we will see it get benched, and the Mirage Gate will take 2 energy out of this deck of different types and attach them to the Dragonite V. And the signals Caleb is ready to go in soon to take this knockout. Can utilize Shred, but that's not the attack right away. But Caleb is actually going to utilize the Spit Innocently onto the Regieleki. This does open up Isaiah to Scoop Up Net potentially and heal the damage off, but you'd rather attack into these Pokemon that have a lot less HP. As we see this Cramorant do a little dance, show us the stuff that he's got.
I mean, that was just spitting innocently. He just went up there and did his thing there. But yeah, we saw the awkwardness of just having 2 Psychic Energies in the hand. It led to the Dragonite not being able to attack this turn, because Mirage Gate was going to find the 2 different energy types, and then the water wasn't going to be able to close out.
So on Isaiah's side, Looks like no scoop up net or supporter means that this Regieleki might just be stuck in the active spot. Does have the second gift energy.
Imagine if it was capture.
Imagine it was capture, but even in this point, capture energy sure could fill the bench up, but you're not able to accelerate any energy with the Ancient Wisdom. At this point, at least with gift energy, you can draw, what, 3 extra cards? Isaiah sitting at 4 cards in hand right now. Is really going to be built off that. And Caleb finally finding this Colress Experiment can easily put him at the cards needed. Going to put him at 10 cards and plenty to look at. Luckily this time, not a plethora of energy. So we'll have a lot more, hopefully, of a comfortable time deciding which
Ethan,
cards
go
to
ahead
away.
and tell me right now how you're feeling here. If you were either a Lost Zone player who has 10 in the Lost Zone already here, about to start taking knockouts against Reggie, or if you're a Reggie player who has 0 cards in their discard pile, which side of the table would you rather be on?
I'm definitely on the Lost Zone side, but that question does proc the idea on Isaiah's side of, do you concede this game?
Right, what is happening?
But in that same instance, Isaiah has a very good understanding of the climb. Can probably understand there's at least 15 minutes left in this game. Do you think a third game could complete in 15 minutes? And if not, and if it's going to be a tie either way, you might as well just play this game out. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. And we do see the rope one more time, and that's why you play double gift. You can just go ahead and bring up the other Pokemon who has got it.
Yeah, but this is still fine for Caleb because I think Caleb is okay to just not take a knockout of this spot. Hit this active Pokemon, deal 110 damage, and next turn, Sableye can take a 2-prize turn.
Yeah, this is kind of how the old format went with we've seen the Lost Zone Radiant Charizard list. It just had to continue to use Cramorant, get a bunch of damage down, and then try to clean up with Sableye. And the old strategy's working.
And also a thing to note, gift energy does not let you draw cards if you knock a Pokemon out with things like damage counters.
Right.
And that is a big time deal because that means it can play around this fact that Isaiah is essentially sacrificing a Pokemon in the active spot to draw extra cards. And it looks like nothing incredible. His top deck does finally have Ultra Ball, but you want to see those energies hitting the discard pile off of that. Can fill the bench up. Everyone's here for the party, but there's no cake, there's no presents, and there's no balloons.
Yeah, at least we finally got something in the trash. We've been waiting a long time for that, and we do see the Ultra Ball is going to get rid of something. But look, he's even eyeing up Regirock at this point. These aren't the cards you want.
This is a sad party.
Imagine you get a rock for your birthday. Like, that's rough.
I think that's probably how Isaiah's feeling right now, as if you got a rock for your birthday. Nothing's happening. Had a long game one, you're feeling good going into game 2, and you just start with this abysmal start. No energy in your discard pile, no supporters to draw through your deck. At least Isaiah was drawing cards in game 1 during that start, but does look like have the Serena, and here we go, looking to see what is found. The problem is you're drawing 5 cards, but you still need to not only find the last Reggie Pokemon, but also discard these energy cards. This might be a big trekking shoes. Do we see the energy get discarded right away? If it's energy, you slam it. You just instantly throw that away.
Yep. And Quick Ball at least would have been able to get 1 energy away, but gonna continue to dig a little further.
I think that was Aurora energy. I think it is. I think it is Aurora energy. The problem is none of these Pokemon can attack in the discard pile. There are no energy cards. Regigigas can attack for 5. There it is. There's the Aurora energy. Can get rid of this capture, but that's all you can do is just, I mean, you can put this on the active. So there is actually a play here for Isaiah. So Isaiah can go into this Regidrago, try and draw some cards, and play around the fact of easy prizes maybe getting taken next turn.
Quick Ball Aurora could work in something eventually, but yeah, you're just trying to get enough of those energies into the discard piles where you can start making use of these typing of attacks that need 2 different of these energies.
I think after those like 2-3 cards that were drawn, it would have to be, I don't even know if there were 3 cards in the deck that could allow them to get there, like Scoop Up Net, Quick Ball, Aurora, I think would be the 3, right? That would be, because the Ancient Wisdom was already utilized this turn.
Reset.
The second Scoop Up Net is being utilized to heal the damage, but still, those are 2 Scoop Up Nets that you could have been using in this game to just negate the last 2 turns on Caleb's side. Instead, drawing extra cards with Regidrago. And what are you left with? You're still left with damage on your board. You haven't taken any prize cards left. The Lost Zone deck is usually comfortable in this spot, even when its opponent has taken 1 or 2 prize cards in this matchup.
Yep, and Caleb, he hasn't lost a lot of energies to the Lost Zone here. And we do see that he's also got some damage down onto the Regieleki. That means that eventually there might be some multiple knockout turns lined up eventually, but he sees a Pokemon without a gift energy. Let's go for knockouts.
And Caleb not utilizing this time to use flower selecting understands there's probably a little bit less than 10 minutes on the clock. Needs to start taking knockouts quick and fast because these turns can get long towards the end of the game where you have to make these decisions. Why not give myself a little bit more time to be comfortable? As Isaiah promoting this Regieleki, usually you want to just promote Regidrago, get things going, and start things out. What can he do in this position? Does have the Registeel, does need to now refine the Regidrago because it was knocked out the previous turn. What is going to happen in this spot? I mean, you could Spark and deal 20 damage to the active, but still not setting up enough damage to get this knockout. Does find another Aurora Energy, so that means as long as that Regi Pokemon is in the discard, or rather can be put into play, any Regi Pokemon can attack, except for Regigigas, but this is what's important at this point. Isaiah needs to start taking knockouts now and find a way to get back into this prize rate. Does have to discard the Cave of Toughness off of that Serena. We saw how important and crucial that was in the previous game.
Yeah, we know that Isaiah loves to use that card to help these single prize Pokemon stick around a little bit longer than they usually do, but not going to be able to make use of that as he just had to have a discard effect for the Serena. At least we see the double Aurora Energy now, and that could lead into a Regice attacking into this Dragonite V once more, and just starting to put Caleb in an awkward spot as he's going to have to find an alternative answer here.
Repeating the process from game one, attacking with this Regice, going to try and slow this Dragonite down a little bit with that Blizzard Bind attack. 100 damage, and the V cannot attack if it is your opponent's active Pokemon. But of course, Caleb can play something like a switching cart or an escape rope and get out of the active. What resources are there left for Caleb? Already down, it looks like 2 escape rope and 2 switch cart. So maybe this could be a break for Isaiah. Right now, it looks like Caleb does not have the way to pivot this out of the active, only playing 2 escape rope and it looks like the 2 switch cards. So there's only 1 more switching out left in the deck.
We've seen him retreat before. Yep, gonna go for it again. Just puts the energies to the top of the discard pile. At least gonna look through with the Colress's Experiment, and is that 3 cards left in deck?
Wow, that is, 3 cards left in deck, and we are already so close to things being towards the end. Hey, Caleb, the count is already over, right? You're over 10 cards in the Lost Zone. Doesn't really matter from that point. Does have to get rid of a Capture Energy, which could be relevant. So here we go. Is this Dragonite going to retreat? Right now, there's no way for Sableye to come down into play. Would have to utilize a Scoop Up Net as well. But the more time you leave these Regi Pokemon in play with damage on it, the more likely your opponent can just Scoop Up Net and negate that. Have to wonder here for Caleb, do you start going aggressive early? Your opponent still has resources left. They can still attack. You've only got 3 cards in deck. These are factors that have to be in the back of your head. Also, time is a factor, too. Yep. There's now only 5 minutes remaining left in this round.
Yeah, got to get moving. Of course, you know, when time is called, you at least could probably get yourself in a situation where maybe you could take 3 prize cards as you can take 1 knockout and then eventually work in that Kyogre to close the game out. Obviously, the deck count is so low at this stage. You see the Energy Recycler already preemptively getting ready. They're going to have additional energies ready to go and maybe have the Mirage Gates lined up too.
Utilizing your Recycler early, never the best feeling, but it needs to be done when it needs to. So we will see the Energy Recycler in combination with the Mirage Gate powering this Dragonite up again. And looks like, says, hey, I'm more than comfortable being here. I retreated. You thought I was gone, but hey, I'm back, and I'm ready to utilize that Dragon Gale attack again, knocking out the Regice. The hand will be refilled back up if there's not more than 7 cards, which there is not, so we'll draw 3 cards at this point. But Caleb, more than happy to essentially go even in the prize trade when you're going to be attacking, so you're essentially ahead. And there's also 110 damage on a Regieleki. It seems like a solid spot. At this point for Isaiah, I mean...
He's done nothing, but it looks like it's close just because you look at the board and you look at where the prizes will be once the Dragonite V is knocked out. But still, Caleb is in a really strong spot just because of all of the energies that are in his deck left and the resources that he has in hand to close out. The strategy is lined up. You just try to remove the rest, at least 2 more Pokemon, and then you have that Kyogre to clean things up here.
So Ordinary Rod will be played. Can put this Regice back into the deck along with the Regidrago. As, I mean, at this point for Isaiah, it's still possible to win this game, but Caleb has a very clear roadmap, depending on what happens. If the Scuba Net doesn't happen this turn, Isaiah can, or rather Caleb can take a knockout with the Sableye and spread some damage onto bench Pokemon to make it easy for the Cramorant that's already on the bench to take a knockout. And then from there, all Caleb needs to do is take 1 more prize card utilizing something like the Lost Mine or another Cramorant, and then Kyogre is easily able to take the last knockouts with the Aqua Storm. So Isaiah's got to think something in his bag of tricks of what can I do to stop this. It starts by taking prize cards, but Does even taking a knockout on the Dragonite not do anything to better your board position? That's the question I'm wondering at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just want to get closer and closer to finding ways to, obviously disrupt your opponent, but finding the scoop up nets as well, so that you don't play into these situations where you already have the damage on board for the Sableye to manipulate and take additional prize cards.
So Marnie's a start that will be able to put Caleb down to a 4-card hand. Had hand selected a lot of those cards off the Colress's experiment, and you also know that out of those 8 cards left in deck, they were all cards put back in with energy recyclers. So this is the opportunity Isaiah needs at this point. Put up a fresh Pokemon, one that's not going to be knocked out by Spit Innocently, and also find the scoop up net, healing the damage off of the Regieleki. Even has the option to not bench the Regieleki this turn. Even, I think a smart play here that Isaiah is considering is, do I bench the other Regieleki in my deck? It's got 10 more HP. That could be a make or break difference in this game.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. It definitely could be a thing that we see him go for. And also, if you're not worried about your opponent disrupting your hand, as we don't really see that from Caleb's side, you don't have to bench another Reggie this turn.
Unfortunately, it isn't the prize card, so it does not have access to that. It's not like it's not a game-losing situation to not put the Regieleki down, but it could be. We'll see as this game progresses through, but we're now under 2 minutes left in this point. Deciding to not even bench a single Pokemon, not going to allow Caleb to take any prize cards this turn with how things stand. Again, you could Aqua Storm. It is possible. Don't get me wrong. That is definitely like a potential play you can make, but I think Caleb is still okay to just line these 2 prize cards up. Take this knockout, or not, rather take this knockout, but hit into this active Pokemon and say,
what a Marnie.
I'm going to do this. Yeah, it was a big-time Marnie there from Isaiah. Understood the situation, that those cards were not going to benefit Caleb, and said, my shot at this game is saying that you can't play the game and that you can't do what your deck is supposed to do. And Marnie, since its release in Sword and Shield, has done that to so many players throughout the standard format, and the time it's legal.
Yep. Often we see the Reggie player in this situation able to make use of that Regieleki, start to use the Terra Spark, and start removing multiple Pokemon on the stage. Of course, we still see that Manaphy down, so not going to be able to clean up a bunch of Pokemon and take the win here. Instead, going to still have to play pretty slow and not make the most use of the damage here. Just going to have to take way too big a knockout here over and over again.
I think Isaiah is just considering, what Pokemon do I want to grab off of Quick Ball? I think the most sense here would probably be the Regidrago. There's a likely chance that it gets knocked out either through the Lost Mine or through another Cramorant coming into play. And you want to be able to utilize the Ancient Wisdom the following turn. But it looks like it will actually just be nothing getting grabbed off of the Quick Ball. So Isaiah understands at this point that maybe the win condition is time, maybe the win condition is just taking a knockout. But if Isaiah doesn't end this turn in the next 20 seconds, that means Caleb only has 2 turns to finish this game out, which, as things stand right now, it's not possible for this game to finish in 2 turns over on Caleb's side. So let's keep attention to the clock at this point. 10 seconds coming down the round. Can Isaiah essentially buy enough time during this turn to not let Caleb start the next turn? The scoop up net's going to make it even harder, healing all the damage off. And that means that there's an attachment from the hand here over on Isaiah's side. That means this could potentially be happening. Look like time has been called, and that's huge here because Isaiah is now turn 0. Caleb only having 2 turns to be able to close this game out, and I don't think that's possible here for Caleb. Wow.
Can you imagine? Because we were looking at this game with about 10 minutes left. Caleb absolutely dominating. Isaiah had nothing, and Caleb says, there's no way I'm going to get a double Kyogre in this spot. I have 2 Psychic Energies in hand. That means Isaiah Bradner is going to be moving on to 5-0 here in San Diego.
Well, that is an example of sometimes it's good to scoop early, sometimes it's good to close the game out, but when you have these opportunities and these options to just play your game out, and it was a long game 1, that's how things went, you could just win games sometimes by taking the first long game number 1, and then game 2 comes and no one's able to win, and that's going to be it. Isaiah Bradner moving it to 5-0.
Yeah, and once again, just another big name that he knocked out, starting the tournament with Kiana Meany, having to work through his teammate in Xander Perot, and now taking down a huge name here, Caleb Gedemer, who has just been on an absolute tear this year so far, and of course is a phenomenal player, 3 regional wins to his name too. So just continuing to do this in the most phenomenal fashion here with a deck that maybe he wasn't expecting to play a week ago.
No, Regigigas is not a deck that we've seen Isaiah Bradner pilot a lot. Was a big fan of Palkia. Palkia was a deck that got him 2nd place at NAIC. Also took it to multiple top placing standings. Did very, very well with the deck, was very successful. And now that Palkia has sort of fallen out of favor a little bit, went back to the drawing board for this event after Lugia's dominance in Arlington, and settled on Regigigas, a deck that people very much knew about, and it's a deck that has been very popular for a while, but Isaiah Bradner felt that it was a deck that could go all the way. It had potential. It could take these matchups fairly well. And as we saw there, when the deck works, when the deck functions, when it's able to utilize a bunch of these different attackers, it can take down a plethora of decks.
Well, one benefit of going to time at this point means that we also get to see the results of some of those other games that we